What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Mainstream Geek Podcast for March 11th, 2016, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody this day. We're going to be breaking down the final trailer for Captain America Civil War.
Travis, my God, today was the day that we saw Spider-Man.
We did. Well, first we had show notes, and then there was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we had a whole, there's not a lot of stuff going on in the news this week in general. So we actually worked really hard to pull together what notes we could for the show so we could actually talk to you guys today. But then this happened. Actually, this all started yesterday with the release of those two teaser trailers. And I always complain about teaser trailers, but I guess I'm kind of selfish in the way that I don't complain when it's something I want to see. So maybe maybe I'm just a really selfish person in that way.
I feel the same way, because last week we saw a trailer and kind of half poo-pooed it. This week we see a trailer and we're going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah. You're the trailer guy, apparently.
Right.
So you and I just I watched it. I don't know how many times I watched this damn thing today, but you and I just watched it together. And what are your initial thoughts on it, without going into too many details, because we're going to the details here in a few minutes, but without going into those details, what are your initial thoughts about this?
It looks awesome. Like, the story-wise, it looks like it's going to pick up right where Winter Soldier left off. I don't want to say I'm speechless, but I mean, holy cow, this is really what a trailer should do, because we talked last week where I like to keep a lot of stuff to wait for the big screen, but holy cow, it answered a lot of questions, but for every one question that it answered, I probably have 1 to 5 more questions based off of the answers that we've got, and I'm really, really excited.
Right, it kind of gave us a narrative, a thicker narrative than we had before, but still, like we were saying last week, now, even though we know stuff going in, we still don't know it turns out we don't know anything. Like, all the stuff that I was theorizing about last week when we were talking about it, half of that is thrown out the window now. Because
I was thinking about the same thing. The half of stuff that we talked about, this, that, and the other, is just out the door at this point. So, but with that, I have 1 to 2 more theories or hypotheses or whatever.
Yeah, me too.
Based off of what 2 minutes and 7 seconds that we saw of the trailer.
Yeah. My initial thoughts, the thing that I thought of when I first heard that they were going to release the trailer was that I wasn't quite right in the timing, but I was right that, leading up to today, every day when I go into the news sites and I look what's going on, it's been an article about Ben Affleck talking about his motivation in Batman, or Henry Cavill talking about Superman's motivation in the movie. And as soon as the 2 teaser trailers dropped yesterday, that all just went silent. Nobody was talking shit about Batman v Superman anymore, because it was all, is Spider-Man going to be in this, or what are we going to see in this new trailer tomorrow? They kind of fucked up Batman v Superman's game by releasing this. I mean, I was a couple weeks off by when I said they were going to release it, but exactly what I said would happen, because no one is talking about Batman v Superman right now.
No, and there's an excitement around Spider-Man, like we talked about last week. I got to this about a half hour after it was released, but as soon as I saw it and I went to Facebook and Twitter, I saw GIFs of Spider-Man. I saw profile pictures, and he was almost everywhere. It was awesome.
And there's a lot of people aren't digging the costume, and some people are digging the costume. That's kind of a talk for the end of the show. We'll get to that point, but and not to take everything away from Batman v Superman, because both of these movies are going to make $1 billion. There's no way around that. These are both going to be wildly successful, and I'm just being hyperbolic when I say that nobody's talking about it, because everybody is going to go see Batman v Superman. It's just the excitement for Batman v Superman 2 weeks before it comes out is now really diminished, because this one looks so good, whereas Batman v Superman looks like it could be good. But this one, there's no doubt that this movie is going to be fucking amazing, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Oh, no, I agree. And, Batman versus Superman, it's based on how they did their trailers. They released a half-assed trailer, and then a half-decent trailer, and then a trailer nobody really cared about, and then a badass trailer. So it's been hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Civil War, we got the teaser with Ant-Man, and then we got the first trailer, and then the second. This has just been a slow build and a crescendo. Like it started with a spark at Ant-Man, and then it's just like it's huge at this point. Like it's just been growing and growing to the point where I can't wait. This is going to be, I said last episode that the Captain America movies were my favorite movies, and this doesn't seem to I don't think it's going to disappoint under any means.
No. It's kind of turned Batman v Superman into an appetizer for a main course meal, which is going to be Captain America Civil War, I'd say at this point, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to, yeah. It is. It's the appetizer. It's the first course of a 4-course meal.
So let's get into breaking down this trailer, because there is a lot of shit to talk about. I mean, this is, like you said, this is a 2-minute and 7 seconds. Is that what you said, trailer? But
give or take a second or two.
Yeah, but it. I'd say if we wanted to, we can't do it. But if we wanted to, we could probably sit here and talk about those 2 minutes for a couple hours. Because if you just break it all down and talk about what all of it could mean, so we can't do that. But we can talk for a while on this thing.
Oh yeah.
So it starts off with. Do you have any idea what that is that Bucky's locked up in?
Now, the first thing I thought of, and I might be wrong, but this is one of my hypotheses, that island, I think that's Wakandia.
The island?
And yeah.
It looked like it was like frozen. It looked like a frozen landscape to me, I thought.
It just looked like an island
to
me, so I thought, okay, maybe it's Wakandia, and maybe Black Panther, how Black Panther gets involved is maybe Black Panther has been watching over a locked up Bucky Barnes or Winter Soldier. But at the end of Winter Soldier, he wasn't locked up and he was out. So that kind of threw me for a loop. Maybe that's a flashback. So I don't know, but it could be one of two things.
Well, I have a whole other theory of how Black Panther gets wrapped up in it, but I'll get to that when we get to the point in the trailer.
Okay.
But so we see Bucky's locked up in some kind of thing. I'm not sure of where that lies in the timeline of everything. But then it cuts to a meeting room where Thunderbolt Ross is sitting there with the new Avengers, and he's rehashing all the destruction that they've been involved with in all the other movies. And I sat there and I'm not sure if it's worth mentioning all of them, but as I was watching this, I was thinking, well, how much of destruction have they really been in? So I made a list of everything they've been involved in. I kind of see both sides of the argument after making this list. Harlem from The Incredible Hulk was pretty much destroyed. The World's Fair in Iron Man 2. The small town from Thor. New York in The Avengers. London in Thor 2. London was destroyed in one of them.
Yes.
Washington, D.C. in Winter Soldier, and then Sokovia in Avengers 2. So there's like 8 different cities that have been like leveled in these movies. So I've always been a guy who during this marketing campaign, I've automatically been on Cap's side for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I'm just like, I agree with that side because I've read the comic books, and I think I agreed with him there actually. But after making this list and thinking about it, I was like, yeah, maybe they do need to be controlled a little bit because shit does tend to get out of hand when they're involved. But did you notice that they gave... I just noticed it while you and I were watching it. And on the screens, he's showing examples of the cities that they were involved in the destruction of. They were giving death tolls for each of those events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So
New York had like 74... I think it said Washington, D.C. had 22, and Sokovia had like 177. I would have thought it would have been a lot higher for a couple of them, actually.
I did too. I think it's funny that they put that there because now you've got something. I don't know necessarily funny, but you've got something to base the havoc and the destruction, and that good on them for doing that. I think I may be reading too much into this, but I think that's them poking fun at Man of Steel because Marvel has essentially went through 2 complete movie phases, and their death toll is huge. And they're bringing up the cities and all the death tolls, and everybody freaked out at the amount of carnage that happened in Man of Steel in just Metropolis. So like I said, I may be reading too much into it, but I think it's kind of funny that you may have Metropolis, but we've got this. Hey, and we'll even throw some numbers out there for you.
Yeah. And this is where we get into the part where it cuts to how I think that Black Panther gets involved in the whole thing. We see T'Challa, Black Panther's real name. He's in a building in Wakanda being destroyed. So I'm guessing that's like a UN meeting? Because it's an African town, because there's a billboard with like an African writing on it. And he's in a building that's being leveled, and then he's on the ground crying and holding some older African American, but he's not American at all, some older African man. So I'm guessing I would guess that that's how T'Challa gets involved in the whole situation.
That makes perfect sense. That might have been his dad, and for the life of me, it may have been his dad. It may have been the first Black Panther. Like, I know T'Challa was... Yes, T'Chaka.
Right? Is that his name?
So, yes.
Yeah. God, I feel like such a nerd for knowing that.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I don't remember, but then, yeah, it is. It's T'Chaka. So I think that may have been him, and that may be why he donned, now that you say that, donned the Black Panther role, role, however.
Yeah, because
mantle.
I can kind of see him not wanting to be involved, because in the comic books he didn't want to be involved in it. But I can kind of see him like arguing he doesn't want to be involved, and then this kind of brings him into it. That's the only reason I kind of string those two together. But then we go back to that meeting room.
So you think it's Bucky? You think Bucky has something to do with it?
I think. Now, see, that's what I'm unclear. I think that might be, and this is stretching for me, but the only thing I can make sense of is, since it's in Africa, and if you remember, we met Claw in Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Hulk goes in, and then that building collapses. He destroys a bunch of buildings. So maybe that's like a flashback to Age of Ultron and showing why T'Challa is interested in being has a vested interest in stopping the Avengers at this point. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a direct ripoff of Batman v Superman right there with Bruce Wayne, but that's the only thing I can make sense of it, and I don't know anything at this point, so I'm just trying to string things together in my head.
No, I completely understand. But it makes sense to me, so that's a good way to go with it.
And then we go back into that meeting room, and we have Tony Stark saying that we need to be put in check. And you can see right away that obviously Cap's not happy with it, that idea, because he comes from Nazi Germany, and he doesn't like the idea of the government controlling anything. That's his whole thing. Plus, he's seen what happened with Hydra. I've got a question. Yeah.
Yeah. Was Tony in there the whole time, or did Tony make an entrance? They didn't really show that. You hear his voice, but it looked to me that when he said, "And that's where I get involved," it was like Tony, the door. I can just see the doors coming open and Tony walking in on Cap, Thunderbolt Ross, and Natasha, and then it's like, oh shit.
I don't know if I hope not. I feel like what I would like to see happen. Again, I'm ignorant to it all, but what I would like to see happen is the reason they're there is because Tony's kind of the de facto financier, the boss, the guy that signs the paychecks for the Avengers. So he probably called them there for this meeting, and that's why they're all sitting there. So he's probably been in the meeting the whole time, and then him saying, "Okay," and that's why I'm here. And
he's just interjecting at that point.
Yeah, that's what I took away from it. But again, I don't know anything.
Okay.
Then we see a building rising from the sea, which looks to me like a prison. Now, could this be a real-world version of the Negative Zone prison that they use in the Civil War comic arc?
Possibly.
That's what I'm taking, because it had prison cells inside of it.
It may be Rikers Island, because I know they can't use the Negative Zone, but Rikers was the equivalent of Marvel's Arkham. It was right off of Manhattan, so it may just be. And Rikers was an island, so Rikers. Right, it may be that. I don't know.
Let me see here. Well, actually, after seeing that, I'm just going to throw. This is another theory. I'm just throwing out there again, not knowing anything. What if in the movie, Iron Man's team wins and locks up the current Avengers, like locks up Cap, Scarlet Witch, all of those guys, and the reason we don't see them again because none of the guys that are on the current Avengers team that Tony's team is fighting have movies coming out that they're in until Infinity War. So what if all those guys are in that prison and then they let them out for Infinity War?
See, that is a good one. I have my own.
Yeah.
I think this is going to break up the Avengers, and what's going to happen leading up to Infinity War is we aren't going to see, like, the Avengers that we're going to see go up against Thanos in the first round aren't going to be Thor, Iron Man, and Cap. I feel like that's why it's a two-parter. What's going to happen in the first movie is we're going to see I hate to say the second-string Avengers, but the ones at the end of Age of Ultron are going to go up against Thanos. Thanos is going to wipe the floor with them. And right at the end of the first movie, when we feel like all is lost, all of a sudden they're all going to put their like differences aside, and you're going to see for the first time since Civil War, Cap, Iron Man, Thor, like the original gang is coming back together for the greater cause.
Yeah, I kind of like that actually. I do like that because that if they don't do something like that, it's kind of all introducing all these new characters in between these two movies is kind of a waste because they're introducing Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. They're introducing Spider-Man in this movie, but they're going to have a Thor Hulk movie, and neither of them that we know of are in this movie at all. Black Panther movie. So, yeah, I kind of like that because all of the new characters, they need to be shown what they can do. And so, yeah, that works too, man. I like that.
Cool.
Yeah. And then we go back to I think it's the same meeting room, but I can't tell. But we go to Steve telling Tony that he can't ignore something when he sees it going bad. And then that's where the line that we've seen a bunch of times where Tony tells him, sometimes I want to break your perfect teeth. So that at least I like that we got like a kind of the both sides of that conversation there, because I was always wondering what was he saying there that makes him want to break his teeth the entire time.
And that was perfect. That was a perfect like back and forth. It just I don't know. It's just perfect. I loved it.
And we also saw another angle from from the other trailers that we hadn't seen before. You know how in the other trailers you see Black Panther running and jumping on top of that car?
Yes.
We finally see what he's jumping towards. I was always wondering why he was running away from Captain America instead of fighting him. But it turns out that he was chasing Bucky, and I'm guessing Captain America's running after him to help Bucky. So
yeah.
And he takes Bucky down on that motorcycle and gives Bucky bad road rash. Something I never caught in the other trailers, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just looks that way to me now. When Bucky and Tony are tussling over that gun, and you know Tony has the Iron Man hand on.
Yes.
Did you notice that when that gun goes off, it shoots Tony in the glasses?
Did it shoot him in the glasses?
In the glasses, yeah. Like it looked to me like one of his lenses shattered. Like it splintered, like it was bulletproof glass, and it just happened to hit him in the glasses instead of. And I think that's why he got that shocked look on his face, because he's like, "Holy fuck, you were really going to shoot me in the face there if these glasses weren't there."
I didn't notice that the glasses broke, but I did understand. Well, I thought the same thing. Like that was his. I kind of caught that in the last trailer, like because we didn't see it come out of his watch. You just see him grab the bullet, and I think that is what is. Like going to be, I think that's the straw that's going to break the camel's back. Tony is obviously got his own agenda, and Cap will have his. But I think that is going to be, I was okay with us disagreeing in this, that, and the other, but your boy just tried to blow my head off for no reason.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into. This where if you don't want to hear spoilers, and these aren't spoilers because again we don't know, but there are some things in the trailer that are pretty evident what's happening, and right now is where we're going to get into those. So if you don't want to hear those, you might want to turn this off now. We see at a certain point what looks to be Rhodey, War Machine, dying. Isn't that what's coming off there?
I think so. It's a hell of a shot that Bucky hit the arc reactor as a sniper in the air.
I thought the same thing. That's not what's happening there. Those are two different shots. When Bucky, it makes it look that way because Bucky points a gun, and then you see Rhodes get shot across the chest and his arc reactor go off. But they're two different scenes happening at different times.
Okay.
When you watch it again, it looks like a blast from Vision's head.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's what it looks like, a laser blast. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a rifle that's shooting him. But he takes a blast to the chest, and he falls to the earth without protection of the suit, because the suit's obviously, without the arc reactor, it's powered down. So he leaves a giant crater in the ground. And then that's the scene that we've seen a bunch of times where Tony's sitting there holding him, and he looks to be pretty fucking dead. He fell from what had to be 1,000 feet in the air. So he looks dead. I don't know. Like it's hard to say. That's where all this timeline comes in, because later, in the trailer, you see War Machine again. Now, one thing that once it was brought to my attention in the last trailer that I've watched, I don't know if you've seen this, but Rhodey and War Machine, his arc reactor changes color. Yeah, it's red.
From blue to red, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I know in the original Civil War, there was death, but I don't want him to kill Rhodey.
Well, here's the thing: I would need to watch the trailer again. But when when Iron Man's holding Rhodey there in the ground, that airport is in the background and it's on fire and there's smoke and stuff going up. So I think that actually happens right after that fight where we see them all coming head to head. You know what I mean? So I think that's a result of that fight. Whatever's going on there causes that to happen. Yeah, I'm just piecing it together again. Everything I'm saying right now is being pieced together. So I take it for what you will.
Right. I mean, that's a good hypothesis about that too. Because that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to watch the trailer again at some point and see if, like, when he's shot, if his arc reactor's red right there, or if it's blue. So because again, I don't know.
We're just throwing wet noodles against the wall right now.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Things get pretty brutal after that. Tony lays Steve out on the ground, like cracks in the jaw, wearing the Iron Man suit, because Cap says that this doesn't have to turn into a fight. And he just lays him out wearing the Iron Man suit, and it throws him across the room. A helicopter unloads a 50 caliber machine gun on Black Panther, so I guess that means his suit is made of vibranium, right? Is that what they've been saying?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, because he wasn't even flinching. He just stood there. Like, there was no... it didn't even look like he was
being pushed back.
Any force from those 50 caliber. So
yeah,
it would have to be vibranium.
Scarlet Witch. Did you see the part where Scarlet Witch... did you notice how Vision was just on his knees on the ground? Because Scarlet Witch was, like, using her power on him?
Yeah, that was very interesting, considering, in the comics, Vision and Scarlet Witch are or were a thing. So
don't they have kids together? I think they do.
They do, but then they don't, depending on if you House of M, because they did have kids, and then House of M said, well, they're not really kids. They were figments of your imagination because you have such strong power or magic powers. You made them into reality. So, yes, no.
Gotcha.
Comics.
Well, I kind of like that they showed this in this trailer, man, because here's a question I've had ever since I found out that Vision was choosing a side in this whole thing. That the question being that if whatever's team it seemed as though Vision was on, that's the team that's going to win because he's pretty much all powerful, right? So yeah. I'm glad to see that they showed no. In our little universe we're making, Scarlet Witch can compete with him. So that's a fun thing to see.
Well, remember he was created by using a good amount of her powers. So
wait, say that again. I think I'm drawing a blank on that. Actually, can you clarify that for me?
No, I'm trying to think. Now, granted, it's been a minute since I've seen Age of Ultron, a couple months, but I thought that didn't Ultron use Scarlet Witch to kind of power up to make the Vision body Ultron? Isn't that why he was using Scarlet Witch?
No, I don't think so. I might be remembering wrong also, but what I think happened is that inside of that staff that Loki had, I think Tony found AI inside of that, and that's what brought Ultron to life. And Vision was just the use of that Dr. Lee, I think her name was, to give himself a new body that is made of vibranium, and so I think Vision was just the idea behind him was just to be Ultron's new body. But then, and this is the part where the trailer was sold for me. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Hawkeye shoots an arrow where Ant-Man is on the end of it, and he comes flying towards the screen, and he jumps off the arrow, and Tony's shooting parts of the arrow with his blasters in his hand, and he flies, and since he doesn't see Ant-Man's there, Ant-Man flies through his fingers and lands on Tony's arm. But then if you're looking right there, Steve's shield, Cap's shield, is right there too. So like they must be in the middle of like some heavy shit going on that Ant-Man's just flying into.
I agree, and I keep saying I agree, but dude, that's just classic Avengers with Hawkeye and Ant-Man. They've made covers of that, and you're right. It just never in a million years, or since I was a kid, did I ever think there would be superhero movies, let alone Hawkeye shooting Ant-Man on an arrow, Iron Man, and Captain America. Like it's in high gear at this point.
This is a crazy time we live in. That's pretty much all there is to say about it. I never thought there would be a world where all of this is happening with comic book movies. This is insane that we're at. This is like the 13th movie in this whole series, and it's only been 8 years, right? Yeah, 8 years now. So
and they're making more money with each passing movie.
Yeah. And then we cut to a shot of Crossbones and Captain America fighting. That should be a cool one, though. I think that's going to be pretty early on in the movie. I just get that vibe. That actually might be what causes the building that T'Challa's in to collapse. That fight. So that could be a thing there. That fight could be what how T'Challa gets involved.
Good catch.
Oh, and did you notice when Tony says to him to stand down, this is your last chance, Cap stands up and says, I can do this all day, like he did in the first movie when he's fighting that big guy in the alley?
Oh, yeah. That was... I thought of that immediately. I was like, oh, he just... I don't... It was... I'm rambling. Like, it brought back... it's crazy, but it brings back those memories like that. But then, like, you just think of just the character. It's like, oh my God, it's so true. Like, Cap fights for what he believes in. He will die for what he believes in. And he believes in this. And it's so spot on that it's awesome.
Dude, I never in my life would have thought that I would ever say that Captain America is one of my favorite characters. And he totally is. Like, I just love that guy. I don't know what it is about him.
I think it's just, he's the embodiment of what is right in I don't want to say a corrupt society, but dude, there's definitely shades of gray now that weren't here when in the 50s and 60s. And he's keeping that. He's the Boy Scout, the true blue next door neighbor Boy Scout.
Yeah. Then we go outside to that shot in the airport, the landing strips of the airport where they're fighting, where it's saying that it was in the background when Cap was holding Rhodey on the ground, and it shows the two groups charging each other, and we get that big splash shot. You know what I'm saying? In a comic book, the splash page. Yeah,
that's the equivalent of the Avengers Assemble that we've seen in the round where they've done it's like the round shot of the roster and then everybody is there. Like, this is going to be, that's the big scene. Like, I kind of wanted to make a poster of that. All of those characters in one spot.
And it looks like, I'm just guessing from who was on the ground there. I don't have this written down, so it's going to give me a second here. But I think it's Iron Man's in the air, and I'm guessing he's going after Cap. I guess Black Panther, my guess would be he's going after Bucky. Because he seems to have it out for Bucky. I don't know why. It seems like everything that we saw him in this trailer was him going for Bucky.
Yeah, he's got a mat on for Bucky for some reason.
He does. I don't get it. I'm sure it'll be explained, but I, as of right now, I have no idea why. I'm guessing it'll be Black Widow and Hawkeye, Vision and
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. And in that, this is the part you're talking about where War Machine is still there and his chest is red. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that he's going after not Rhodey. Falcon. I'm guessing he's going after Falcon. That's the only thing that seems to make sense. And then
Cap. That's the only other flyer on both sides because Rhodey went up in the air, and the only person that could be in the air that he would go up against would be Falcon because Vision is mingling with Scarlet Witch.
Dude, did you know that there's that's part of the? I think that's part of that whole scene that they're shooting the entire thing in IMAX. It's a 15-minute long action sequence that the entire thing is shot in IMAX. And like the crazy thing about that is IMAX cameras, they're using some kind of new IMAX camera that lets you do something longer. But in the past, you usually only get like you know when you're watching a movie and the format changes, like it doesn't go to 16 by 9, it goes into a larger format in the middle, then it jumps back. Well,
yes, they did that the original Dark Knight. There were only spots filmed in IMAX.
Well, that's because you can only shoot in IMAX. You used to be only able to shoot in IMAX for 2 minutes at a time because it's such a big film and the cameras heat up so fast. But now now there's a new camera that IMAX has developed that is going to allow them to shoot in it. You can shoot an entire movie in it because they're going to shoot all of Infinity War in IMAX. Like the entire movie.
Oh dear Lord!
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
That's news to me. I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, I just read an article about it, and we had this at work. We have this subscription to a video website, and they were talking about it on there. And then the title card pops up, Captain America: Civil War, but the music doesn't stop playing, and then you hear Tony say, "All right, I've run out of patience." And he just says "Underoos" really loud, and it's such a quick thing that you know how your brain works really fast, and you can like have all kinds of concepts at one time. I was like, "What the fuck does "Underoos" mean?" And then all of a sudden I hear that sound, and I was like, what is that noise? But then I realized it just all happens like in a half a second. And that half second, I'm like, what's he talking about? I hear the noise, I'm like, what's that noise? And I'm like, oh shit. And then you see the web grab Captain America's shield, yank it out of his hands, then Captain America's hands get covered in web, and then Spider-Man lands on the top of a car, and he's like, hey, what's up, everybody? Or he says something like that. Right? Is that right?
It was, yeah. Hi, I'm here, or hi. Yeah,
he said something weird. He had a kid's voice though, and I thought that was hilarious. It was like definitely like a little young boy's voice.
It was. This was obviously my favorite part. Real quick before we get into it, do you know what underoos are?
Aren't they little kids' underpants?
Yes, they are. Back in the 70s and 80s, and I had these. They were superhero tighty whities with a T-shirt.
Oh yeah, I had those.
Yeah, those were underoos. So the Spider-Man had like red and blue tighty whities and a red Spider-Man T-shirt, and there was Captain America with the blue T-shirt, and there was Superman and Batman came with a cape. Like there was no specific there was Marvel, there was DC, but I just laughed when he said underoos because I went, well, that makes sense because if you think about it as well, he's the only one in spandex. Yeah,
he really is. We got a really good look at him, by the way. It wasn't like a quick glimpse that you get in some trailers. He was there on screen for a couple seconds, long enough to where you could comfortably pause to find what you wanted to see on him. So what did you think of the costume?
I loved the costume. The mask, it literally looks like to me a John Romita mask. Like it looks like John Romita's face. Well, John Romita, the artist, Spider-Man's face just leapt off the page. I think it's awesome. how his eyes, the white of his eyes change, because it does that in the comics. So I'm wondering if that is a focus type thing where, like, maybe kind of like what Tony does, he's kind of scanning around and getting a lay of the land.
I have an answer to that, actually.
What is it?
If you watch the trailer really close, that you can actually, like, if you watch it on a big high definition TV, which I did it when I got home, the eyes of the mask kind of have like apertures in them. So like when they're getting small like that, it's actually like a camera zooming in.
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so if you watch it really close, that's what's going on. It's like little lenses closing to make his eyes smaller. So that's you're exactly right when you said that.
It was basically the basic Spider-Man costume with, a little bit of revisions here and there. I loved the little spider on his chest.
You like the little spider?
Yeah, because all the rest of them have been so big. That's the part. That's like the back of the costume, man. You got to have the big spider on the back.
You see, that's the only reason I like the little spider, because I was like, well, it's something different. They're trying something different out. You got to give them that. But other than that, it looked too small. It looked tiny. It just didn't. It didn't seem to fit to me for some reason. It was just like everything looks great on him, even like the black bands on his arm.
Yes,
and
I wish those were a little blacker though, like a little darker. It may have just been that of the shine, but like the webbing on the costume, I wish was a little more defined, or that you could see it a little better.
Yeah.
Than what, but it may have just been, like I said, where they're outside or the lens or things like that.
Well, here's the thing about it, man. I know a thing or two about computer graphics and how they look, and what's going on with that is it looks to me like it's a computer. There wasn't really a guy there. It looks to me like that's CG, but it looks so it's just not done yet. You know what I mean? Like they gave us a good enough version to show us, but it's going to be polished up before it comes out.
Okay.
But here's how Marvel's shitty version that they're willing to present to us is so good that I'm not going to say with 100% certainty that that's not a real person. That's how good their CG is. Like
it looked. I mean, I obviously knew all the flipping and spinning. That wasn't that. I knew that was CG, but when they panned in and when he caught the shield and they're panning out and it goes from his arm to his whole body, like his face and his mask, I went, man, that could really be a real person right there.
Yeah, it could be. To me, though, there were just signs that it wasn't a real person, but I don't know for sure. The mask definitely isn't a real person, a real mask.
Oh, no.
Isn't there. But I would love to see, like you're saying, the big spider in the back. I want to see a 360 of him now. Like I'm happy with what we got today, but I just kind of want to see like the character design, a 360 of that to like give a spin around. Just 'cause I want to see what the whole costume looks like, because I don't know if you noticed this, but on his waist he has a little belt with like cartridges on it. So I think there's like web cartridges.
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and then also down the arms, it's not a straight red band or red line. Like there are. Like just under the shoulder, there's a break for the blue and
for the joints. His elbows and his shoulders and his wrist also. But I think the wrist might be like his web shooters.
Yes. Now I did read somewhere that this is going to be a preliminary costume, very similar in the vein of Amazing Spider-Man 1. Where he just kind of throws a costume together, and that we'll see a more Spider-Man or a more advanced suit. Not advanced, but like a better-looking suit in the Spider-Man movie. So it's going to be a growing process. So there may be breaks in it now, but in the next one, it'll be just like a Spider-Man suit.
So you're not of the mindset that Tony built the suit for him?
Well, now that you told me that the lenses were, the eyes were like lenses, I think Tony may have done the lenses, and I really hope that Tony did not do the web shooters, because that's always been a key, like, indicator or a key feature about Peter Parker of how smart he is he can make web shooters. So I'm hoping that, or even if Tony did make the web shooters, that Pete's going to be able to use his knowledge to make them better for his own movie. So it could go either way.
Yeah. There's one part in the see, this is something that makes me think that it's not that battle there that we saw where Spider-Man showed up, that's not the last battle of the film. Because when you and I were watching the trailer together before the show, we see Tony Stark and he has a broken arm. So he had to break his arm somewhere. So I'm thinking maybe Tony's arm gets broken in this fight and there's a bigger fight later on. I don't know. But there's also a part in the trailer where you see Captain America in an apartment talking to someone, trying to talk sense into them. I can't remember what he says right now. But I'm wondering if that's like Spider-Man's apartment. Like Spider-Man and his aunt live in this apartment, and that's how Spider-Man comes over to Cap's team like he does in the comic books.
I didn't even think of it that way. I was thinking more along the lines of maybe Bucky was hiding out, but you're right. We don't see who he's talking. Like Bucky came back to Cap, but I mean that could be it. And with timeline, when it's like you said, when does this happen? When does Spider-Man show up? Because Tony has a very big bruise over his eye.
Yeah,
he's got his mask off. Like what? I don't know. Is this it? This is like we said at the beginning. There are so many questions that I have now. Like, what's going to happen?
What's that?
I guess my last question is, Tony wants to kind of regulate the superheroes, and not once during this have they talked about, by regulating the heroes, like giving up their names and their real names and secret identities like in the comic. So I'm thinking that may not even play a part because
I think it's just government regulation. I think it's that's what the government wants to regulate them instead of reveal their identities because their identities are already out there. I do think though that now, just based upon what we saw of Spider-Man and Tony was wise, had a nickname for him and stuff, I do think that I was wrong about how Spider-Man is going to be real quick in this movie. I think he's going to be a thread throughout the movie. Like, he might not be a big part, but I think he's going to be like a little protege of Iron Man in the movie, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he would. It would seem so because it was almost like Spider-Man was there at Tony's beck and call. Like, hey, Underoos. And it's like, how did he just showed up? So I would assume that, Tony is Pete's idol. Tony's a billionaire playboy, and if Pete's a nerd, hey kid, if you keep, stay in school, you can be me, billionaire playboy Tony Stark and Iron Man and this and that. So I feel like that's going to be the angle that they play with that, where that's how Tony will get Pete on his side.
Yeah. So that's the end of the trailer. Just some closing thoughts I had, and then I'll let you add some on here. Even though this is the last trailer, we know Giant Man's going to be in this. Like, I think that's going to be like a trump card that Cap's team plays during the big fight at the airport.
Yes.
We still haven't seen anything from Zemo. The guy who plays Zemo in the movie hasn't even been in a trailer yet. We still haven't seen who's the actor that played Tim in The Office, the English version of The Office, and he was in Fargo, the TV show, and he was he played the main character in The Hobbit.
Dang it!
He played young Bilbo.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name right off the top of my head.
Well, we haven't seen his character in any of the trailers yet. I don't think that, like the comic books, Captain America is going to die in this. I think that the fight with Crossbones might be a real short thing that might just lead us into how T'Challa, Black Panther, gets involved in Civil War. Here's a thought that I had while I'm sorry, I just have a piece of paper here. I'm going through the thoughts I had when I was watching the trailer earlier today. What if Baron Zemo's role is only to introduce Hydra as starting the Civil War to get Hydra back in secret control again. What would you think of that? I would hate that myself. I don't want them to keep going back to that well every time.
I agree with you. I feel like the Hydra thing in the movies, as well as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., has run its course. We don't need to go back to Hydra. They're never going to get Red Skull back. He's another actor. I can't think of his name right now. Like that, it's time to move on. It's hard to say what exactly Baron Zemo will do, but I just don't see them going the Hydra route. I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe Hydra will come back and more powerful or something along the lines, or be like foot soldiers for Thanos. But I mean, Hydra is really an afterthought to me at this point.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts on this, or?
Not any more than I've already said. I've obviously gushed all over this trailer. It amazes me, and I'll say it again, but it amazes me being, I'll be 35 this year, and I'm seeing, the comic characters and action figures that I had as a kid in real life, and it's good. It's not like the old, the first Captain America movie or Hulk, not Bruce Banner, Hulk, Lou Ferrigno Hulk. Like, this is legitimate, multi-million-dollar just films. It's great. I can't wait.
Yeah. Batman v Superman or Captain America Civil War right now for you? Which one?
It's Cap.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way around that. There's nothing bad. I haven't seen anything bad about this. There's no way. I actually bought the tickets for the Nerd Thread review for Completely Straight, my other podcast, right before we started recording this. So,
I didn't even know they were out yet.
Yeah, that's what the whole commercial set was for. It announced that tickets are on sale. So I made sure to go there and just buy. I bought 7 of them right up. That way we could all go see it.
Well, I will. As soon as we end this, I will be getting my tickets.
Well, that is all we have. I don't think we have any time to jump into any other news. This is pretty much the only news that exists today. So, make sure you're going to mainstreamgeek.com/iTunes/Stitcher/Spreaker/RSS. Subscribe in any way you can. Whichever way you are subscribing, please make sure you're leaving me a rating and review. It helps me grow in the ratings. It helps me grow in the charts. It helps other people find me. It makes it worth doing the show. If you want to support the show in a way, you can go to mainstreamgeek.com/nerdblock and buy yourself a nerd block. Get yourself some collectibles. It helps support me. It helps support the show. And that's all I have. Travis, do you want to plug anything before we call it quits for the night? For the day?
No, I'm on Twitter, tfowler1. Hey, if you leave us a review, I haven't even ran this by Jason yet. I just thought about it. We'll read your review on the show, give you a free shout-out on the show. So if you want to leave us a review this week, we'll check it out, and we will take a couple minutes next week, give you a shout-out, and thank you for doing what you do, because we appreciate you guys listening.
I don't think anybody is going to buy that we're going to read the review, because dirty little secret, I have an email box with about 30 emails in it that I keep meaning to talk about on the show, but I never get around to it. So
maybe not. We'll have an email show sometime soon, kids.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Find me on Twitter and Facebook at mainstreamgeek.com. If you want to talk about anything that we've talked about in the show, email me at jason@mainstreamgeek.com. And that's all we have. We will see you on Monday with AJ. Until then, keep it geeky.